Welcome to All About Android, your source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for Android users. I'm Eileen.
I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
Oh, my Lord. I'm not used to having a
overtaken.
theme.
I know, it's a little disconcerting to have it rolling underneath, and I'm going to tweak the levels a little bit so that it isn't so, so
fun.
powerful. But yeah, that's Stuart Colin, a.k.a. at Bootwell on Twitter, who provided the theme. And then also the opening graphic, Andre Richard, or Refracted in the chat room. He's around a lot in the chat room. And he's actually going to work on an animated open with this.
I know, I'm so excited. Ooh. Hey, welcome to RC Canada, or RC1. Yeah. Yay, we're here. We have a lot of things to talk about. We haven't done a show in a couple weeks. And Ron, we haven't seen you in a couple weeks. So I'm glad to have you back.
It's a busy time. You guys are at South by Southwest. Yep. I was out in Chicago and Seattle. We've been all traveling. It's been crazy.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to have you back.
Yes, good to be back.
Today we're going to talk about readers, app readers, and God, we got a whole bunch of news.
Yeah, a lot of news. We'll try and skip through it really quick, but
not that it's not important, but we are going to read through these really quickly. So why don't we go ahead and get started? There's a lot of things that we're going to talk about, and we have some viewer emails and a voicemail as well.
That's right.
So let's kick it off. All right, you guys have all heard AT&T buys T-Mobile. My first impression was WTF. The press release went out yesterday afternoon. Mm-hmm. And, there's not much more to say that you haven't already heard on Twit and TNT. It affects us greatly, right, Ron? Nexus S users. I'm
a T-Mobile user, and I landed this morning at SFO, and I tried to send a text message, and it failed about 4 times, and I'm like, oh my God, AT&T's already taken effect.
What's going on?
No, but it's interesting because at this point now, the number of users that AT&T will have makes them the largest wireless carrier in the country. And I gotta wonder, it's got to go through regulatory approval and couldn't the government get in the way of it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's hard to think that won't happen because it's such a big merger.
It's going to take a while. I think we're going to have at least a year of tethering and hotspot. But after that, I have no idea. We might have to pay the $20 extra per month. We'll see. I mean, I really hope that we're grandfathered in and we won't have to do that, but we'll see. Malik wrote a really good article about this, and basically says in AT&T and T-Mobile merger, everybody loses.
Yeah, I think the interesting part about this whole deal for me is that T-Mobile has been very friendly to Android. AT&T not so much. AT&T seems to like to lock down their devices, and so they do silly little things with Android that kind of don't make sense in the grand quote unquote open Android ecosystem. So it really makes you wonder whether bringing T-Mobile in means that they're going to kind of soften up a little bit to Android, or whether they're going to lay down the hammer and start kind of locking all of the Android friendly devices that were part of T-Mobile. All that's suddenly going to get locked down. That would be a big bummer.
And also all the plan, like Eileen mentioned, I've got unlimited data, unlimited text, and T-Mobile's never used the word cap or bandwidth restriction or limit or anything like that. And if we start hearing that kind of language around the Android devices and the T-Mobile users, I could run back to Verizon very quickly. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, moving on, our next story.
Oh, yeah. So let's see here. So Android 2.2, this is these numbers are always released, and it's, I don't know. I don't know why it ever surprises me that they happen this spanned out. But basically, Froyo 2.2 is taking the lead as the most installed version of Android on active devices, sitting at 61%. Now, the latest version is, of course, Gingerbread. That's 2.3. And that's only at 1.7%. And that, was released December 6th versus Froyo June 23rd of 2010. That's quite a long span of time in between versions actually kind of taking over the majority. It's kind of, part of what people talk about when they talk about a fractured kind of, Android ecosystem where everybody's kind of on a different version and all that kind of stuff. Now there's Honeycomb, of course, and that's the most recent one. That's only on tablets. That's sitting at 0.2% currently. But I mean, that's totally understandable. That just came out in February. So
I mean, but the big number here is the number of people on 2.1. I mean, you've got well over, nearly 30, at least 30% of people under 2.2, which for developers makes it really difficult to make sure the apps are stable for a wide number of people. When you're doing development, you always want to develop for the largest audience. And so obviously developers are designing for 2.2 and higher, but anybody who's not on 2.2 or higher yet, a lot of the apps won't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the thorn in the developer's side entirely.
Your phone's rooted, but which one do you have?
I'm on Gingerbread.
Okay.
I'm on a rooted version of Gingerbread on my Motorola Droid, which they've said will not be ported, like officially ported to the Motorola Droid. And I mean, I can understand why. It's a great ROM that I have installed. It's by Peter Alfonso, who does the Bugless Beast ROMs. And it's a true kind of version of Gingerbread. There's no like embellishments in it necessarily, but it does run kind of slow. It runs on it, but it's kind of laggy. So I can understand. But I mean, as far as the original Motorola Droid is concerned, it's stuck at 2.2 officially.
Yeah.
So
you're still up next.
Oh, am I?
We're getting to know this news thing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's right. I am still up next. So Google is reportedly buying up NFC payment terminals, and they're going to be deploying those through San Francisco and New York City. And NFC, near field communication, it's essentially they built it into the Nexus S, I believe, and that's the first and only Android phone out there right now, right now in distribution that has the NFC. So you kind of knew when that phone came out that they were going to kind of bolster this a little bit, but that it's probably going to take a while because there aren't a whole lot of devices that tap into that. And essentially what that allows is for you to use your phone as a payment system, let's say. So you go into a store, you've got the NFC chip in there tied to your credit card. You can kind of flash your phone over a pay terminal, and you can pay for your item there without having to pull out your wallet. So it's good news for San Francisco and New York folks. They've basically purchased these up from Verifone, and probably within the next year, probably sooner, you're going to start seeing a lot more of these in these two major cities, and we'll see if it's actually a big deal. I don't know. I don't know if I'm sold yet.
Well, here's the thing. These phones have had, these Nexus S phones have had them since we had them. Bought them in January. Was it January that we bought them?
No,
December?
It was earlier.
Wow,
it was December. It was December. Yeah.
And we haven't had anything.
Never seen any opportunity to use it.
Absolutely. But Apple has been talking, and you've been hearing rumors about them. And when they get started on doing something, they're the ones that first partner with Starbucks or whatever. So I mean, Google needs to get on board and do this, right away, or it's just going to be swept, from them. I think NFC. We throw around those three letters. NFC. What? It's like the unicorn. What is that?
We're not going to realize what the potential is until we see an actual use of it. Yeah. I mean, in the opportunity to use your phone more and more. Like today, I flew this morning and I used my phone for my boarding pass. But that was web based. It wasn't NFC. But still, it shows the potential of you can route everything through this phone, and just by swiping the phone, pay for something. I want to do that instant. I would love to do that. But Google's got to let us know where they're putting this stuff so we can go find it and then evangelize and use it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, exactly. So, moving on. All right. So one of the worst kept secrets in the Android world has been the promise of an Amazon marketplace. And Android Central today was saying that the Amazon App Store, Android App Store, could be launching as soon as tomorrow, March 22nd. And from what I'm hearing from my sources, this could be very accurate, actually. The promise of sources.
Who are your sources, Ron?
The promise of an Android app store through Amazon is really interesting because not only does it put the whole Amazon kind of recommendation infrastructure and user base behind it, but it also gives a bunch of different ways for people to buy apps, which is helpful for those international users. Because app purchasing has been limited by what country they've been in, and those have been one of the complaints about the Google Android marketplace. So I would keep an eye on Amazon this week if I were you.
Sounds really interesting. And I mean, it can't be really underplayed. I know the developers are probably not too happy about the current status of buying apps through the marketplace, the Android marketplace, because like you said, it's next to impossible for some international users to actually pay for the apps that they want to exchange money for. Instead, some of them turn to piracy. Not that that's the right thing to do, but that enables them to get to these apps that they would pay for otherwise. So I don't know. What do you guys think as far as multiple app stores? I personally don't mind it, but I know a lot of people feel like it should be one app store that has everything and it's splintering it.
Well, I think that's the Apple approach. I mean, that's what we're used to. I mean, we've seen so much, work been done for iTunes and the iPhones, and show like, here's the App Store and this is the only place you can get it. But I mean, I have an iPad and I have a hell of a time finding apps because of that one store. And that really Apple they're not so quite good at the retail aspect of it. Meanwhile, Amazon is pros. I mean, that's the payment option is interesting. But for me, what's even more interesting is the recommendations and the cross-referencing of people and all the different ways to bubble up apps that might be available in the store you might not be aware of, which the Google Marketplace doesn't do as well as it could. Neither does iTunes, to be honest. So I think that's putting all the resources that Amazon has done over the past 15 years in retail technology, apply that to an app store, it's fine. As long as it pushes right to my phone and I don't have to really, it's not a pain in the butt to make it work, then I'm fine with it.
And as long as you're paying roughly the same amount.
Exactly.
Because that could be another sticky point too, is you pay $5 for an app over here, $7 for it over there.
That's kind of what happens with the bookstores, right? You've got Barnes & Noble, you got the Nook store, you've got Kindle, you've got, if you have an iOS device, you have, iBooks, and they all have competitive pricing. So
totally.
I don't know. Either way, it's competition. It's great. Unlike the carriers right now that are we're getting it taken away from us. This is good. I'm excited.
Choice is a good thing. Choice is a good thing, definitely.
Agreed.
So. Yeah.
All right, moving on to hardware. Hey, CTIA begins today in Orlando, Florida. Anybody going? No.
Yeah, right after the show, I'm going to board a plane.
I'm going right now.
Let me tell you, I'm in perfect condition for that.
I guess at CTIA, all of the heads of the the CEOs of each wireless carrier is going to be on stage, but T-Mobile CEO has pulled out.
Yeah, pulled out.
Because AT&T will be there. So
I wonder if it has anything to do with the news.
So I am interested to hear more that's going to come out of CTIA, and already we're hearing some news, right, Jason?
Yes, that is right. And this is kind of cool news. Sprint has announced that they are releasing the Nexus S 4G, which was, the Nexus S was on T-Mobile. Am I right? So now they're moving over to Sprint with the 4G attachment.
Surprise.
And I think this is really cool, and I really hope more phones do this. It's going to have Google Voice integration into the network. And basically what that means is they've worked with Sprint to work on that integration, allowing a customer to use their Sprint number as the voice number. The one thing that's really held me off from using Google Voice, and maybe it's not that big a deal if I just did it, but I don't want to have to change my number and tell everybody that this is the new number that you call me at. I've had my same cell number for a long, long time, and I don't want to have to change that. Well, in this case, you wouldn't have to do that.
Didn't Google Voice roll out number portability for mobile phone numbers?
Did they?
Yeah.
I believe they did, yeah. And I was bummed because I actually wanted to use it for a landline. I wanted to hook up a landline phone to Google Voice, but they said, no, it's only for mobile phones only. But what you could do is you can port your number to Google Voice, and then you have to get a new number for your phone, but then you just route Google Voice to that phone number and then go from there. So you might be able to still do that, but yeah, having it integrated at the carrier level makes it so much easier, because I think Google Voice is such a powerful application that and sometimes it's more complicated to get set up than the average user can use.
Yeah, exactly. It has a lot of power, but you have to really kind of sit down and think about it when you're deciding how you set it up and everything like that. Just having it built in to where it's a no-brainer, you don't even have to think about setup and stuff. I mean, then you're just adding features without adding headache, and I think that's pretty cool.
I think that number porting, correct me if I'm wrong, chat room, but I thought it was something like $20 cheap.
Oh, the charging it? Really?
I thought there was early on, but whatever. You can let me know.
25 says
25. Okay, thank you very much.
And Kuhan in the chat room says, I just use 2 phone numbers, and I don't know.
I know I have 2 phone numbers. Actually, I have 3.
It's
really confusing. It's not. It's hard.
I want one number.
I know. I like one number too.
Yeah, exactly. So in tablet news, finally our answers have been our cries have been answered with Motorola Zoom. The Wi-Fi version is going to launch on March 27th for $599. So when Zoom came out, I criticized it because I just wanted a Wi-Fi version. I didn't want to tether to a wireless account like through Verizon. Now we can do it. End of this month, $599. Get that tablet. So
I think we owe it to our viewers and our listeners to get one. So I think I'm going to get one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm tempted.
I think I will. We're doing this show. We should know what
No, you're right.
We should do this.
We should.
And thank you, Leo. I don't know. I haven't asked yet. He'll probably say no.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Well, we'll all share. This will be the Toy Cottage Zoom.
No, I would love to get my hands on Honeycomb.
Yeah.
And Zoom by extension. And then just a little bit of adjunct to that, Sprint Zoom, possibly. There's some images of that leaking out onto the interwebs. So, you might be able to get your Zoom on Sprint as well. So that's kind of cool.
I haven't had Sprint in a long time, and I guess none of us do here either.
No.
But
for some reason, I hate Sprint. I don't know why. I have an irrational bias against Sprint.
I have a problem with Sprint too. I really do. But
it's all that bloatware they put on their phones. Like every Sprint phone I see, it's loaded with all this crap on it, and I just want a clean phone.
It's all about bad customer service for me back 5 or 6 years ago. So
yeah.
I held a grudge. Sorry. Okay, moving on to apps. All right, Netflix app leaked for the Android, and it's coming. It's coming.
It's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, we know that, so that's great. I'm glad to know that it really is in the works. So, what did we find it on?
Well, it was an APK that leaked out, and I will be honest, I didn't install it. The reason I didn't install it is because all it allows you to do is browse and search and manage your queue, which I guess is kind of cool. If you do a lot of queue management, it would be nice to have that on your Android. So when somebody tells you about a cool movie, you can just hop right in there and add it to your queue and everything. But it doesn't allow you to do any of the streaming yet.
Right.
And that's kind of what you
it's got to be coming with the Zoom and with the tablets coming up. That's the one killer app that's we're missing, that Netflix streaming app. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're holding on to it until that's done. But I gotta admit, I saw the news that it was leaked towards the weekend, and about 4 or 5 times this weekend when a movie came up, and I went to my phone because I wanted to add something to my queue and I couldn't. I was like, I want that app now that I know it's available.
Yeah, right.
There are some, and I haven't tried them, but there are some queue managers already that exist. Yeah. Queue Manager, PhoneFlix. So, this has to have streaming, or it's just like whatever,
Yeah, I had PhoneFlix for a while, and for some reason I just didn't like it. So I got rid of it, and I said I'll just wait for the Netflix one.
I've noticed that to a large degree with apps for services that maybe they don't have an app yet, but somebody else has created an Android app that kind of does what you would hope the official app would do, and a lot of times I end up uninstalling it. I'm like, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's always a little janky. It's always not quite like the response.
Polished.
The API, either the API is in public or they're doing it through like a combination of they're using the web, so it's kind of like a browser that's an app that's wrapped around a browser, and it just seems just give me the official app. That's what I want.
Yeah, even if it does the same stuff, the official app, they're going to be more inclined to make it really, really, really good. Or at least I would like to think that anyways, to work with their service. Also, big news over the weekend, Adobe Flash 10.2 rolled out. So if you had that installed, you probably got an automatic update on that. And some of the features for that, essentially improved Flash performance through hardware acceleration, multi-core support, and they specifically list Zoom, Atrix, and LG Optimus 2X. And then as well, expanded support for Honeycomb tablets, like hardware accelerated H.264 video playback, and better Flash content rendering for smoother web browsing experience. So in other words, you may probably not, really notice much of a difference at all.
But I'm not surprised that they're all over it and making sure that it works well with Honeycomb, because this is really Adobe's kind of stake in the ground against Apple, saying, okay, fine, like Android is going to support Flash and we're going to support Android. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of updates every time new hardware comes out.
Yeah, they want that tablet to work in the same ways that their big competitor does, and they want it to be fluid and work well. So,
okay, we've got a couple of new apps, and I have installed all but one. Although I did install all 3, but I had to uninstall one. We'll get to that later. The first one is the Read It Later app. It's the official app from Read It Later. I don't know if any of you out there use this. I personally use Instapaper, but I've been using this lately. It's pretty much, if you use Instapaper, here's some articles that I have already tagged. So say, let's see here. You can save pages for later. You could do it for offline viewing later. It seems to work really snappy. When I have a page opened up on the web, I can actually share. Let's see, more, share. There it is. Add it to Read It Later. Almost said Instapaper again. And then I should have Google on here. Let's see. Did it go there? There it is.
Nice. And then, so once you've read it, do you basically just check it off the list and it hides?
Yeah, there you go.
That's useful.
Done.
You had mentioned this whole genre of of apps a few episodes ago, and I keep meaning to do this because so often I come across, especially for preparation for this show, I come across something. I'm like, all right, I can't quite read this now, but I want it later, and that would be really handy.
And like I said, I'm a fan of Instapaper, and we were talking about how if it's just the official app, I've been using Instapaper doesn't have an Android app, but I've been using a third-party app, and it's good. So that's one that I like. It's called InstaFetch. Okay, also another app is called HeyZap. You guys like to check in? We checked in using Foursquare.
Yeah, we did location
media check-ins like GetGlue.
There's food spotting and GetGlue. Guess what? There's video games. So let me show you here. What happens is when I launch a game, I'm going to launch one of my favorite games, which is called Ninjump. Let's see if it happens. There it is. Check into Ninjump. It just automatically checks in. You don't even have to go to the app. So, all right, nice. I'm going to check in. I'm playing that right now. And then you can explore some more if you want. I don't know why you would want to keep exploring. I want to go back to the game. Here I go. And I'm going to play.
Now that's a really good integration. It's really smooth to have it trigger when you actually are playing the game. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, if they want it to be used widespread and by as many people as possible, you got to make it dead simple. And that's about as easy as it gets. Yeah. Launch the program and it does it kind of for you.
And they give you badges and things like that, things that you would normally find in all those kinds of check-in apps. So, it's kind of fun. And I like that I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
When I'm watching a show, I got to go to GetGlue. But here it's just automatic. Like it. Yay.
That's the big reason why I don't use those media check-in apps is because I never remember. It's like I'm watching something. I'm not going to think to go check in that I'm watching something.
Yeah, exactly.
To have it happen when you trigger the game, that's really clever. So good on them.
And finally, Mozilla Firefox 4 release candidate for Android is out. I downloaded it. How big was the file? How big was the 13 point something megs?
It was 13 meg? Oh, wow. That's a lot better. The last version I played with was 30 meg. So that's good.
Yeah, it was huge.
Well, it did take a while to download. And at first it was working fine. And we have a video too. We could show you a little bit about what it looks like.
Let me get there.
Maybe we'll show you the video first. And then I'll tell you about my experience.
On the wrong screen here.
Or maybe I'll tell you about my experience right now.
Hey, there we go.
Hi, my name is Tomas, and I'm here to introduce our new Firefox for mobile web browser. I'm really excited to bring an all-new web experience to your smartphone and tablet, which will make accessing your online life easier, faster, and much more fun than ever. Let's take a closer look. Our fresh user interface puts the web center stage. No clutter obstructs your view, which makes browsing the web on your mobile device as easy and efficient as it should be. Let me show you how it works. You can access open tabs with just one swipe.
Yep.
So you can quickly switch
I saw that.
web pages.
I did see this.
Or open new tabs. The awesome screen turns your device into a powerful personal web assistant. It learns from your browsing behavior. For example, it lets you instantly access a smart list, bookmarks, and your history, even tabs from your other computers. It's all in one personalized list that gets smarter as you use your mobile browser. We made it very easy for you to bookmark a site that you love with just one touch, so you can access it directly from your awesome screen anytime. With Firefox for mobile, you can just pinch or double tap to zoom swiftly in and out of any web page, whenever you'd like to take a closer look. Another incredible feature is Firefox Sync, which connects all your devices seamlessly. Imagine you have to leave your work or home computer in a moment's notice, and you can simply pick up right where you left off on your mobile phone. You will never have to type long URLs or usernames or complicated passwords again.
Look, he's got his ticket confirmation.
Firefox keeps it all in sync across all your connected desktop and mobile devices by synchronizing your browsing history, bookmarks, usernames, passwords.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Tomas.
Okay, so I saw the tabs with the swipe. It was great. And then I tried to load twit.tv and then it stalled. Nothing. Didn't move. I, tried to do the reboot. The only way I could reboot my phone was to actually physically take out the battery. And then that was it. I uninstalled. And then I thought, did I download the correct version?
That's a hardcore crash. You had to take the battery out?
Yeah,
really?
I had to take my battery out. Nothing would reboot my phone. And so someone on Twitter had said, if you have 2.3.3, they have apparently worked on the bug for the Nexus S. So I'm curious, Jason, if you download if you want to take the chance. I've already done it, and I'm not going to do it again until I hear otherwise, or until I get 2.3.3.
I will absolutely download it and check it out. I just had such a bad experience with the first one that I don't know.
Well,
I'm doing it right now. That video prompted me. I'm literally downloading it right now as we speak.
Tomas convinced you.
Well, here's the thing. It was fine. I was browsing on some other sites, and then as soon as I went to twit.tv, that's where it stalled. So I don't know if it's our side. I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a Flash issue.
Maybe.
And how Flash is plugged into Firefox, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
so it was.
I don't know. Like, I really want to like it. I actually use Firefox on the desktop all the time.
The swiping gesture is really cool to see. It's very easy to use, and I was, anxious to see, it learn my preferences and all of that. I don't currently use Firefox as my default browser, though, so it's not going to work hand in hand like
your default desktop.
Yeah.
Or your Chrome.
Yeah. So it's not going to work hand in hand like they showed with that guy, but
you have Chrome to phone, which is
yes, I have Chrome to
kind
phone.
of the same
exactly.
thing.
I was thinking that the whole time, but I have Chrome to phone. Anyways, let us know, Ron, if you are enjoying Firefox, or maybe while during the show,
right now,
during emails or whatever, towards the end, you could tell me whether or not it has stalled on you.
Because I'm not on 233. I'm on 232. So I'm curious. I'm not going to go to twit.tv though. I'm going to go to another site.
Yeah, don't go there. It's gonna stall. Okay, shall we head into the arena?
Let's head into the arena. To enter, one lives. Android Arena. Yeah. I'm hoping our opening graphic is just as awesome.
Yeah.
Once we have that motion graphic going.
Jason, you want to go first?
So first of all, let's check in on last week's poll because, we do the poll, so we might as well see the results of it. And or last episode, 2 weeks ago, we did location check-in services. And let's see here. I'll pull this up.
Wow.
Boom. Take that off. Foursquare, resounding 50%.
I'm not surprised about that. I'm surprised about Google Latitude. Yes.
Well, I think I would guess that a lot of Android users are really just amped and tied into the Google ecosphere. And if Google's offering something, they have it installed, they're using it regularly. I don't know. They do integration. I mean, it's their OS. They do integration really well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I really like Latitude.
Latitude was the first thing when it came up. I immediately disabled it. I was like, no.
Really? I'm telling you, it could save you. And you know what? I had sort of misplaced my phone, and it helped me find it.
Oh, interesting.
And it was just kind of lodged into my car. Side area in between the two doors next to the seat, and I looked everywhere underneath the car and everything, and then it was Google Latitude that kind of tipped me off that I still was in the car. So something like that really works.
Interesting.
I was sold.
By the way, on Firefox, it just crashed.
Aha!
Literally, it's totally dead. I can't do anything.
Not say?
It's like half rendered.
Yep.
Well, it is a release candidate.
Completely dead, and now I have to pop my battery out.
Wow.
There you go.
See?
So it's a Nexus S.
At least it's an
issue.
It's an issue for us,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm curious to see if it's going to be an issue for you too.
All right. Well, I might be too tied up with other stuff to do what you just did, Ron. I will do it. I just might not do it by the end of the show because I'm pushing lots of buttons
Battery
and
out.
stuff.
Put my battery back in.
Yep.
Unbelievable. I fell for it.
Well, then you definitely go last. You definitely go last for the arena face-off.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I'll go first because I have my phone here.
It's
so
working.
Yeah, it's actually working, but although slowly, as you'll probably see here shortly. We are doing this week. We're doing feed readers, and I know I use a feed reader a lot for prep on this show specifically. I'm holding my baby, putting the baby to sleep. I got 10, 15 minutes to kill. Got my phone down there, checking the readers, finding Android things. And I will actually tell you that the one that I use regularly, because it's a Google product and I'm just tied into that whole ecosphere, is Google Reader. And this camera might be a little too far away. I didn't test this, so I apologize if that's the case. But, the thing I like about Google Reader is it's tied directly into reader.google.com, no brainer there, but it's just kind of in its simplicity. If you use Google Reader on the web, a lot. The app is just kind of laid out in the same exact way, and it's very easy to get to the things that you want. So, you've got all of your items, starred items, which is something that I never really used much until prep for this show. And I'll talk to you about that more in a second. And then you have, people that you follow, which I don't know why there's 733 people. I don't follow anyone on Google as far as I know. That could be like remnants from Buzz that are like tied into here because I don't use Buzz anymore.
Probably.
Yeah.
A few other options. And then of course, all of your subscriptions down here. So I would go into my Android subscription. I've got all the different blogs that I like to look at. And I've got 5 new messages in Android and Me. Click through there. It takes a second to refresh and show you what those 5 new ones are. But essentially, I can go through the list and, it loads anything that's built into the feed, nothing more, nothing less. So I know CNET, for example, will just give you a little summary of what the article's about. Android and Me kind of gives you the whole kit and caboodle. So eventually, it'll sync all of these things into your phone, and it's really easy and quick to get to them. If I like it, I just hit that little star button up at the top. It says added star. And then when I get to work, I go onto Google Reader, I go to starred items, and I know those are all the things that I need to add into the dock and figure out a place for them. There's really not a whole lot of fluff or much else to talk about Google Reader. I mean, you can do the typical things like share this article and show only updated. You can sort these feeds manually if you want, but really it's just, for me, it's about the simplicity of it all. And I don't know, it's just it's easy to use. I like it,
and it integrates well. That's
it integrates really well with Google Reader, and that's kind of a big plus for me.
Okay, well, I've got a fancy schmancy reader for y'all. And I was really excited that this app came out as a self-confessed dual user of iOS and Android. My reader is Pulse. And let me show you Pulse.
We have talked about this a little bit on a previous episode.
Right. I wanted to show it off because what's exciting about this is that the UI is pretty much exactly the same as it is on the iOS devices. So for, people who say, oh, you can't make pretty apps for the Android. Hello, this is the same thing right here. So these are my feeds that I have added. And if I wanted to read one, let's see here.
Now, does this have the same account sync with your iOS install? Like, can you log in and have all your feeds be imported on the phone and your iPad?
I have not logged in though with my iOS device.
Interesting.
Yeah. So here, let me show you really quickly. If I wanted to read an article, you just kind of do that. You could share on Facebook, on Twitter. Again, I could share. I could share on many other places here. Read it. There's Read It Later. There's InstaFetch for Instapaper. To me, this is really quick browsing. It's not as comprehensive, obviously, as Google Reader, and I don't put all of the feeds that I normally would have. This is just, to me, I use it as something really quick.
For your most important things that you want to check out.
And for me here, I use it for checking Android news, super quick. And I love the UI. I mean, I'm a sucker for it. What can I say? And then you can just add. They give you sources. If I wanted to add a new feed, they give you suggestions, or you could go ahead and import stuff from your Google Reader. You could even bump. I haven't done that yet. I want to try that.
Is that we both have the bump feature and we go bump?
Yeah, exactly.
That just seems like a feature that's like...
I haven't really used bump.
Really? Does anybody use that? Does anybody really use that? Do you really end up running into somebody and be like, hey, I'll bump it to you?
I kind of want to use it more than giving business cards. I don't know. It'd
be nice to be able to do it.
I've never been in a situation where someone's been like, oh, can we do that?
I know. Yeah, me neither.
If you ended up in that situation and you were the one that brought it up, you'd probably then explain for the next 10 minutes what it is. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then you spend 10 minutes of it not working. And you're like, wait, do it again. No, harder.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why it's not working. Just give me your number.
And here you can see managing your sources. If you wanted to move, I think I'm going to move Bon Appetit up just a little bit higher. Oh, no, maybe I'll put Engadget up a little more. It's got all this.
The UI is slick. I installed it. I'm playing with it now. I like the horizontal scrolling across through the different articles. That's kind of neat. and how that horizontal scroll exists when you're on the article itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, one thing I really like about Pulse versus something like Google Reader is Google Reader is all text. I mean, when you're staring at it, it's just a bunch of lines of text. And I mean, in some cases, that's great. But Pulse seems to be more like, turning your news feeds into kind of like, not necessarily a tabloid experience, but giving a little bit more visual pizzazz to it. So it's maybe a little bit more engaging when you're interacting with it and kind of the UI,
it
details.
Just honestly shows the promise again that you can build a beautiful app on Android. Mm-hmm. You can. So I just hear a lot of iOS people say, it's ugly. It's ugly.
Well, because it's a little more developer-y. It's like that's what I've always said is that iOS does have the edge when it comes to sexy because it's got all those neat bells and whistles and the shadows and the reflections and the corners and stuff like that. But and a lot of the Android developers are they're worrying more about function over form. And I think that as Android gets more adopted, you're going to see that form and that design element come through. Well, I think this year is going to be a big kind of explosion in apps that are really well designed.
Completely agree. Yeah. Is your phone booted already?
Yes, I'm back up. So
all right.
So and it's funny because touching off of design, like for me, when we're talking about feed readers, I have a hard time with RSS feed readers, mainly for the same reason that you had, Eileen, is that I get so like Google Reader is great, it's really effective, but it's just boring. And like I feel like every other feed reader is just a list of article headlines, and then you can flag it whether it's been read or save it, and then just read the article and I want something a little more visually interesting. That's why like on the iPad, like I love Flipboard because it makes it it's way more visually interesting, a lot more fun to play with. So when I was looking for a feed reader, I actually came across one called FeedSquare, feed squares, sorry, plural. Which is interesting because what it does is, for me, the key thing with any RSS readers, it's got to sync to your Google Reader account, which Pulse doesn't. At least for me, being part of the Google, Android ecosystem, I am managing everything through Google. I am using Google Reader for my subscriptions, but I want my app to be able to pull that information in. So for FeedSquares, you log in, you can say whether you want to link it to your Google Reader account or you don't have to. It's just an option, which is good. And then what it does is in my case, I pulled in my Google Reader subscriptions, and it makes a little square for every source.
It's very Windows Phone 7 looking almost.
It actually is. And now that you mentioned it, it really, really is. And it's looking at it on Eileen's phone. You just installed it, so it hasn't had time to fully load in all the data. You've got a lot of feeds in there. But once it loads after a while, I don't know if you can see it on my camera, but those squares become photos from the articles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
almost like album art.
Yeah, exactly. So what you can do is then, so I'm going to click through to to the Mashable feed, and I'll see a list of all the articles that are under Mashable. And what it then does is it gives these little rectangles, and the left corner it pulls in an image that's if the article has an image, it pulls in that image there on the screen, and then you get the headline to the right of it. And you click it through, and then you tap on it, and you get a pretty easy to read version of it to absorb. And it's got all it keeps in a lot of the different feeds from different hosts have different, whether it's a link to read it on their website or they've got all the sharing options, stuff like that. It keeps all that stuff in there, which is pretty cool. But then also, if you hit the menu button, it comes up. You can mark things as read. You can share it back to Google Reader because how Google Reader has that share function to share with the people who follow you and things like that, which is kind of cool. But then it also pulls in the Android share to other sites, so you can post it on Twitter or on Facebook or anything you like. Or you can go to the jump to the web to read it in the original source. So it was a really competent RSS reader with a little bit of bells and whistles in order to make it a little more interesting looking. My only complaint about it, though, was that it lacks a home screen widget. And that's something I don't know if Pulse or Google Reader have or not, but I kind of would like a little square on my home screen to just scroll through headlines. Yeah.
I'm looking right now. Sorry, I forgot to see if Pulse has a widget. I don't think it does.
Yeah.
But Google Reader does. Google Reader does.
Yeah, Pulse does. The Pulse version I installed does. There's a large and a small one. I'm looking at it now. Yeah. So I mean, if FeedSquares had that widget, this would be like I would be really, really jazzed about it. But in this case, it's a nice little alternative, similar in the same vein as Pulse, in terms of it being a little visually more interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. When I'm looking out on my phone, sometimes I do want it to be a little bit more visually interesting. Otherwise, it's so small that if it's just text, I'm just going to read it on my computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just me.
Totally. I mean, just speaking to that, that's exactly why I use Google Reader.
Oh, really?
Because the times that I use my phone to read articles and stuff like that are when I'm locked down, when I'm like, when I've got a baby sleeping on my shoulders or whatever. So I've got literally, that's how I find extra time these days. Bring my phone with me.
You could still have that text on the phone and have it be in a way that's visually appealing and makes it, the UI being interesting. And so when you do have that 15 minutes with the baby where you're reading, you're getting your information, but you're also getting it, having some fun while doing it.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Well, that's cool. I had not heard of that one, actually.
Yeah, me neither.
I played with Pulse. I haven't heard that one. So I wonder what you, the viewers, think. We have a poll here. Let's see here. Let me fade that.
Take the poll.
There we go. Poll.cm. Excuse me. Poll.cm/968. What is your favorite feed reader of the ones that we discussed? Google Reader, Pulse, Feed Squares, and maybe vote based on the ones that you've actually used and what
do you think is more helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. So check that out, and we'll give the results next week. Or I'm sure you could just continue going to that link and seeing what people say
constantly.
Because I know every morning you wake up, you're like, where's it at? I gotta know. What are people's favorite feed readers? But all right, so let's move on to voicemails, and this is per Joshua Caleb.
You've got mail.
Oh. Maybe I'll do something with that. So
I like that.
Yeah, it's got a little music, a swooshy thing or something. But we have a voicemail here from Joel in Tennessee talking about inverting brightness, something I had not thought of. But here we go.
Jason, Eileen, this is Joel from Tennessee.
Wow, it's really quiet.
I'm a low vision Android user. I'm looking for a way to change the colors of a browser from the white background to a dark background. Do you have any browsers in mind that can do that? Thank you, and have a great show.
So this is interesting. I guess in browsers, and I've never really thought about why you would do this, but for visually impaired, sometimes it's easier to see white text on a black background. You can also save power on desktop monitors and stuff like that. So he's wondering about are there any Android browsers that do this? I did some poking around. I didn't really find any specific browsers that boast that feature, but I did find.
The problem with that on a browser is that you've got the browser has settings where you can set the background, the text, but then the web pages the browser is pulling in are setting the style of the page.
Yeah.
Like the website says this is going to have a white background with black text and that sort of thing. So you need a browser that's willing to overwrite the style sheet of the website that you're going to.
Or just invert the the color scheme entirely. Maybe it ends up being an app that you run on your phone that actually inverts the display.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Because at that point, you're not necessarily, I would guess anyways, you're not necessarily looking for everything to look perfect. You're just looking for the text to be readable on the background, and inverting might allow you to do that. One thing I did find out through poking around, though, is if you're interested in rooting your phone, it always comes back to the root, doesn't it? Cyanogen Mod 6 actually has a call out in one of their change logs that says browser color invert, and it sounds like that's kind of maybe something that you're looking for. I haven't played with it. I haven't tested it. Maybe someone in the chat room has used Cyanogen Mod 6. I'm sure somebody has.
Well, the other thing also is I know, and I don't use this browser. I played with a little, and Jason, I think you do. But doesn't the Dolphin browser allow to change themes, to change the look of the browser itself through themes?
Not
yes,
invert,
but not the content, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you can actually change from what I was looking through it. I don't think you can change the actual kind of rendering of the web page as far as how that looks, color wise. Right. You can change a lot of kind of the
menus and things like that.
Exactly. You can spruce up the app itself, but the web pages, from what I understand.
Yeah, I looked at Skyfire, Opera, and I didn't see anything that allowed you to invert the text, unfortunately.
Yeah, interesting.
Just text size and zooming in and out and that kind of thing, but not actually what our listener wants to know. Yeah,
so hey, you could go ahead and test out the root and do Cyanogen Mod 6 and see if that has what you have. But that seems like a very long way to go for that. But who knows? Maybe that's what makes it worth it for you. And you might find some stuff about root that you actually like. So that's worth checking out. So you can also leave us a voicemail if you would like to do that. 347-SHOW-AAA. That's 746-9222. Or you can send us an email at our new email address, and this is the final one, aaa@twit.tv. That one makes a whole lot of sense, I think.
I think so too. I'm getting, I'm such a noob here, but I read some of the chat comments because I want to know if anybody's, found, an answer for our listener, and then I just see, is your guest going to be a regular, Eileen? He's good. Actually, that guy right there, he's part of the show.
Yeah.
I got a little like...
Ron is a permanent
I got
guest.
the approval of someone in the chat room. Wow, awesome.
Yes, we're working on podcast art, and there are three Androidified guys on it, and they represent one of each of us. So he's definitely part of the crew. And I should also say that Android Bruce, I believe in the chat room, says CyanogenMod also has a render effect to change colors across the system. So maybe that would do it as well.
I can't wait to root my phone live for all of you, so I could do all of this.
I can't wait too. I want to hear what you think, starting from the beginning.
We have an email, though, too,
Yeah, we
right?
have a few emails. You want to take the first one?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Jason and Eileen. I got my Nook Color about a week ago, and it is a great $250 Android tablet. By default, it runs 2.1, and there is an auto rooter that will give you root privileges, mark it Gmail calendar, and still keeps the default Nook overlay. I love it. Right now, I'm running CyanogenMod OCD. Is that how you say it?
Overclocked.
Yes.
Overclocked. Sorry. It's such the noob. I told you, did I? I'm the noob girl.
Orange County.
Orange County.
Orange County. Yeah.
To 1100 megahertz.
You're constantly going to hear them correcting me on this. I am
it's all good.
admittedly the noob here. To 1100 megahertz from the stock 800 megahertz.
That's
and have
pretty
Honeycomb, not full blown yet. Still a good preview. Great site to see. All of this is... There's the
Nook
gives
Devs.
us a site, nookdevs.com.
So this is kind of like a little cottage, and not industry, but kind of thing going on is people getting the Nook Color and rooting it and making it a full-blown tablet for
It's
on the
really
cheap.
cool. We did this. At my day job, we did this. We got our hands on a couple of Nooks, and it's actually really easy to root and install a different OS on the device and not lose the stock. Because what you could do is you can put the ROM you want to run on a micro SD card, put it in a Nook, and then it will boot off the SD card, not off of the internal hard drive.
Awesome.
Pretty cool, because then you take the SD card out, reboot it, and it's
you're
stock.
back to normal.
Exactly.
Oh, that's great.
That's
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
flexible. I like that.
Yeah, and I gotta admit, I'm really impressed. It's a nice little tablet device. It holds well in your hand. The color is really bright. It runs the apps really well. Honeycomb, the device, Honeycomb was a little laggy in the version I was playing with, but it, at least in some of the animations and the movement and stuff like that. But it's a cool for $250. It's a good price.
You can't beat that. I mean, that's a great price. That was my main question: is how laggy does this become as a tablet, and does it play video very well? Did you see any video on it?
I didn't see any video on it. I did see some animations, and I did see some, kind of high-res images, because my day job working on graphically, we're working on our Graphically Android app, and we were working on formatting it for the Nook. So we were looking at some really, really high-res kind of, color images and the movements and the transitions within there. It did drag a little, but it still worked. So I didn't get a chance to play a video yet. I'll try to do that this week, and I'll report back next week.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. Love to hear that. We got another email here. Actually, this is a long one. I'm going to summarize it, but I can't. The screen is so small, I can't even zoom down to see who the name is. Let me go over here. David. There we go. David Schelleberger. He basically just wrote in to let us know about an app called Default App Set, which on our last episode we talked about resetting the app defaults. If you say yes, I want it to always open this browser, and then later change your mind, you want it to have a different action, you otherwise have to kind of delve into the settings and find the right app and clear the defaults and everything. Well, there's an app in the marketplace called Default App Set that will kind of do this for you, and
Nice.
so, it might save you a little bit of time. Something along these lines of these menial tasks that take a while, but they're very useful, is Apps to SD, which is an app that you have it installed. It's a low footprint. You really don't notice that it's there until you install an application onto your phone that can move to an SD. It recognizes it immediately and says, do you want to do that? Instead of you having to go into the settings and go to it, and move it to the SD card, and all those steps.
That totally should be default.
It should be, but I guess they're letting people have control over their phones, and I don't know. It depends on the camp you side with, So, and then Ron, you want to take the last one?
Sure. Next email's from Ben Wasnick. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Ben. Ben says, I've been playing with the Thunderbolt for several hours now. I have to say the phone seems very snappy. I'm coming from a Droid X, and I still think this phone is a little bit faster. The phone is definitely more heavy in the hand, but it feels solid. I've had numerous issues with trying to use data. I continually get network connection errors unless I'm connected to Wi-Fi. I'm hoping given a little bit of time, this will clear itself up. That's been my experience so far with the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, I put a call out on Twitter to see if any of our viewers, listeners, have picked up the Thunderbolt. It released a couple of days ago, and it sounds like a pretty nice device.
Well, I want to get my hands on it. I want to see. I mean, it looks like a nice device, but seeing it in the wild and those data connectivity problems, those might be his network, like where he is and how strong his connection might be. So I'll be curious how it is in different areas of the country.
Yeah.
Okay, so one caller did call into the Tech Guy this weekend, and I was here, who has the new phone. And the only thing, and maybe it just needs to take time. The one question was, what about battery life? And he wasn't really happy with battery life.
Yeah.
So,
well, I've heard that a lot of the delays actually were because of the battery life specifically and how that ties into the LTE. Verizon is offering a battery attachment, like a larger battery that doubles the battery life.
How is that going to be?
It literally, like, if you take a look at this picture, that whole middle section between the camera and the flip out thing, it like extends that out maybe a little bit thicker than what the phone is, as thick as the phone itself. So imagine it like twice as thick just in that middle section. So it adds a little junk to the trunk, basically. but
there's
it gives
our show
you
title, Junk to the Trunk.
But it gives you twice as much battery life. So I guess it's what's important to you. I don't know. I have yet to really see a really good Android phone that has great battery life. iPhone 4 seems to really do well with that, and I don't understand why these Android phones can't.
I think eventually, but
I've got no complaints with the Nexus S. I mean, I was out in the field this weekend. I was out in Chicago, and I was, I left my hotel at like 9 a.m. and I didn't get home until 1, 2 in the morning. And the lowest I got was about like 13% left on my battery, but it lasted the whole day of tweeting and taking pictures and doing stuff. Yeah, so I mean,
well, that's better than me.
And the thing is, though, you can get those expansion batteries. I mean, like Cyto.com has them. And I know that, and it does. But the thing is that a bigger battery is a bigger battery. It's a bigger physical battery. I find it interesting that Verizon has an official extended battery.
It is.
I think, that's the first I've heard of that. It's not a like a third party kind of
I don't know if it's Verizon. Is it a Verizon battery?
Yeah, this is Verizon. That's what's right there. This is Verizon
4G,
and
LTE.
Yeah. That looks to be official, which is the first I've seen of that. So.
I mean,
that's not too bad.
It's not horrible. I mean, it's really not that bad. It does kind of remind me of the chin on the Motorola Droid, which is it just kind of juts out of there for no apparent reason. And I mean, I understand here you're doubling your battery life. So
what's not related to the battery, but what's the deal with the kickstands in HTC? Like
that was kind of a big thing, I think.
Well, look at me. I've got a little stand here, right?
Yeah.
So I can possibly, show you my phone for the show. I don't know. I guess if you want to watch video kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't see any use for it myself, but but other people might like it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would change my world if I had it. So.
Media playback. I mean, obviously it's all about the media playback, but it's probably not important to a lot of people. But I do remember when I can't remember which the first phone was that actually offered a kickstand, but it was kind of a big deal. It was like every phone.
It was the Evo.
Was it the Evo? They put it on billboards. They're like it's so cool. It has a kickstand. I was like, what? Like on a billboard.
Well, but that screen is so large. A lot of people are going to be using it to watch videos, and that's really, like you said, that's what it's for.
Yeah, and Web5597 in the chat says it's great for video chat too, and that's a really good point.
Oh, good idea.
That would be super handy.
Prop it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Prop
very
up that
cool.
junk. All right, you have one final thing in here.
I do. I just wanted to show this off, and I don't remember who tipped me off on it, but I just wanted to show how cute this is. AndroidBeanie.com. I want one.
I pulled it up on the wrong
Do you
computer
like it?
here.
No, there we go. Look how cute that is.
Yes.
Am I the only one?
They're doubling production. It's so popular.
I would wear that on the show if someone got it for me.
It'd be our very own app cap.
Our own app cap, yeah.
Except
just like iPad today. Right. Look how
Except we
cute that
rename it
is.
or something. Those are cute.
Yeah, no, see, I'm the only one that would wear
Those
them.
are adorable.
Thank you, Jason. Wouldn't you want to get one for Lucy?
I would love to. Actually, yeah.
There
That'd be fantastic. She'd rock that hat.
She would rock
She'd
that
rock
hat.
the beanie.
If you guys have anything that you want to share, something cute like that you'd like us to show off, just go ahead and send it to us. And I don't know. I think that ends our show for this week, right?
Yeah, that's it. Ron, thanks so much for joining us, as you will every single episode. We're stoked to have you on the team.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at RonXO.
RonXO for you. Eileen, you are
Eileen TV.
Eileen TV, and I am Raygun01. And that's it for this week. Don't forget, you can be a part of the show by sending us a voicemail at 347-SHOW-AAA. You can email us at aaa@twit.tv. And starting next Monday, I can go ahead and say this, right? March 28th, All About Android is official. So it's going to be an official show with all the feeds and stuff. Recording live every Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific at live.twit.tv. So you can subscribe then. And
awesome.
That's that.
I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
Hey, this was a good show, you guys.
It was.
We got our flow. We got our flow going on.
That's right. Right on. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Oh,
perfect.
Look at that ending.